हरि ओम तत् सर्वगुरुभ्यो नमः। प्रणदेवी सरस्वती वाजेभिर्वाजिनीवती दीनामवित्रवतु पावकान सरस्वती वाजेभिर्वाजिनीवती यज्ञं वष्णुं धिया वसुः जातवेदसे सुवनाम सोमवनाति यनिदहाति वेदः सनः परसरति दुर्गाणि विश्वानावेव सिन्धुं दुरितात्यग्निः अग्ने त्वं पारय नव्यो अस्मान् स्वस्ति विरति दुर्गाणि विश्वा पूष्टपृथ्वी बहुला न उर्वी भवा तोकायतनयाय संयोः श्रिये जातः श्रिय आनीर्याय श्रियं वयोजनितृभ्यो दधाति श्रियं वसाना अमृतत्वमायन् भवन्ति सत्यत्समितामितद्रौ ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. These are all lines found in the Rig Veda. So we may see it's slightly different Rig Veda compared to Krishna Yajurveda. Because of Navaratri, I chose to honor Saraswati, Durga, and Lakshmi. न्यस्तात्मीयपरं वरप्रदगुरौ वैराग्यभाग्यो ददौ वेदान्तामृतसारवन्तमनघा श्रीश्रीनिवासात् गुरोः श्रीशैलान्वयकौस्तुभस्य तनयं श्रेयो निधे श्रीनिधेः वन्दे साधुकटाक्षकेलिनिलयं श्रीकृष्णसद्देशिकम् गीतासु गीता कर्तव्या किमन्यैः शास्त्रसङ्ग्रहैः या स्वयं पद्मनाभस्य मुखपद्मात् विनिसृता मलनिर्मोचनं पुंसां जलस्नानं दिने दिने सकृद्गीताम्बसि स्नानं संसारमलनाशनं सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्सः सुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत्. So we had we're talking about how almost anything, so many things are impacted by three gunas. I listed many of them in the chapter 17 and some more in chapter 18, everything, and how we worship, the austerities, food we eat, the yajna, dana, knowledge, and our commitment, all the acts we do, and our intellect, tenacity, all those things are impacted by the three gunas. Now he continues, there is few more. This is how the Sukham is also impacted. Sukham tvidanim trividam shudume bharatarshibha abhyasa dramate yatra dukkantan cha nigachati. The pleasure that people seek to put an end to their pain is also of three kinds. Dukkantam, what they want to put an end to their pain. The pleasure they seek is also of three kinds. I will tell you what they are. This is, of course, everyone loves pleasure and comfort. That is, U.S. Constitution itself says pursuit of pleasure is inalienable right of every human being, and any government should make it possible for everyone to pursue their pleasure. That is, to whatever extent they want. So that is, it's a very common trait. It is not just for Hindus or not for students of Gita. It's for everyone. And in fact, we talked a little bit about Bhruguvalli early on in the first class, and he basically concluded that Anando Brahmeti Vyajana, that is what people are all, we should think that as the supreme thing. So he concluded that the food we eat, the air we breathe, the mind we think with, anything we know, we should know it is only for Ananda. Ananda is the ultimate, it's more than pleasure or joy, it is bliss, but that is what the pursuit of every human being is. Once he realized that is, if the goal is always to seek bliss, such a person is blessed with everything. That's what he concluded. Of course, Shankaracharya also stressed that how one connected with the Supreme will always be Ananda. Nandati, Nandati, Nandatyaiva. Yogarato va, Bhogarato va, Sangarato va, Sangavihinaha. Yasya Brahmani Ramate Chittam, Nandati, Nandati, Nandatyaiva. So they're all talking about Sattvika kind of seeking pleasure. Now, Krishna is going to mention here, even the seeking of pleasure is dependent on influenced by the three gunas. Sukam tvidanin trividham.
Am I doing it today?
Yeah. Sukam tvidanin trividham.
Sukham tvidanim trividham.
Shrunu me bharatarshava.
Shrunu me bharatarushabha.
Abhyasad ramate yatra.
Abhyasadramate yatra.
Dukhantam cha nigacchati.
Dukkhantam cha nigacchati.
Now this is about the sattvika person. Yattadagre vishamiva pariname amrutopamam tatsukam satvikam proktam atma buddhi prasadajam. So initially it looks like poison. Agre yattate agre vishamiva looks like poison, but the outcome is amrutopamam. Parinama is amrutopamam. That kind of sukham is called sattvika sukham because that one is it is Atma Buddhi Prasadajam. That means arising from the tranquility of one's own self. It's really kind of an Atmananda. That kind of pleasure is Sattvika pleasure. So the right course of action that arise from the tranquility of one's own self at first seems like poison, but often ends up sweet. Such pleasure is of the nature of sattva. So first you looks like that. Very simple example for this is we can feel this sattvika sukham. Instead of getting up at our usual time of 7 or 8 or 9 or 10, if we got up at 3 in the morning, 2-3 hours ahead of that, it really is so painful. Karma, I have to get up like that. Very soon you feel so good. You feel like you have conquered the whole day. Looks like you are the king of that day. You feel like that. So that is a very simple example of sattvika sukham. You can see that just getting up little early. In fact, there is a joy in that. Also, there is the rajasic joy is getting up and going back to sleep. Oh, I'm glad I'm not going to torture myself. I used to do that when we studied for exam. We used to keep alarm at 3 or 4 or 5 in the morning. And of course, you have to get up and study. After the exam over, also, I used to keep alarm. My mom said, "Why are you keeping alarm? I want to get up and go back to sleep." I said, "That way I don't have to study." That is the Rajasic Sukham I can get like that. Anyway. Yattadagre vishamiva
Yattadagre vishamiva.
pariname amritopamam
Pariname amrutopavam.
tatsukham satvikam proktam
Tatsukam satvikam proktam.
atma buddhi prasadajam.
Atma buddhi prasadajam.
Now it is about the Rajasikan. Vishayendriya sanyogat yattadagre amritopamam pariname vishamiva tatsukam rajasam smritam. See here it is connected with the sensual pleasure. Vishayendriya sanyogat. The pleasure that arises from the contact between the senses and the sensates. So that one is very sweet in the beginning, but ends up bitter. This is of the nature of rajas. Initially, of course, if we whatever looks very good at the beginning, afterwards we feel. That is why if you go to any club, any kind of adult club, they want you to pay first because they know that you will afterwards you will not like it. That's why there is a cover charge, right? They collect $20 or $10. 2 drinks you have to drink because once you go inside the smoke and everything like that, you may not even feel like staying there. So they want to exploit your rajasic sukham part of it, right? So vishayendriya sanyogat
Vishayendriya sanyogad.
yattadagre amritopamam
Yattadagre amrutopamam.
pariname vishamiva
Pariname vishamiva.
tatsukam rajasam smritam.
Tatsukam rajasam smritam.
Now, this is the tamasic sukham. Yadagre chanubande cha sukham mohanamaatmanah nidralasya pramadottam tattva samudahritam. This is the pleasure comes from being lazy and careless lethargy like that. It's only a delusion. From beginning to the end to beginning to end, it's only bad. It is of the nature of tamas. The same example I gave you for getting up at 3 or 4 in the morning and how you feel master of the day with full of joy. Same person, if you get up at 4 in the afternoon, you really feel tired. You feel like going back to sleep only. That happens sometimes. You basically lose the whole day. In spite of having slept so much time, you still don't feel energetic. You feel only lethargy. You feel only more lazy. So yadagre chanubandhe cha
यदग्रे चानुबन्धे च
sukham mohanamatmanah
सुखं मोहनमात्मनः
nidralasya pramadotham
निद्रालस्य प्रमादोत्थं
tattama samudahritam.
तत्ताम समृद्धाहृतम्.
Samudahritam, it is at the nature of tamas, that kind of. This is also true, like the hardest uh, thing is the earlier when you are studying, like a PUC in India, it used to be PUC when we were studying. Whatever if you put a lot of hard work in PUC, you get to good course. Afterwards, actually, gradually it becomes easier and easier and easier compared to but when you when you are not able to do well in the early on, it's very hard to get into any good course. Afterwards it only gets more and more troublesome. This is same now. Here it is high school, of course. The PUC has become high school in America. So if you get very good grade in high school, your life becomes very smooth then onwards. Actually it gets easier and easier and easier. um, so we did that. Okay. Okay, now he concludes it here. Natajasti pritivyam va divi deveshu va punaha sattvam prakatijair muktam yadebhistyaatribhir gunaihi. There is nothing, no creature in this world, on this earth or elsewhere, that is free from the impact of the gunas. They are all influenced by which are born of Prakriti. So up to this point, he was talking about how the trigunas impact, and how he concludes there is nothing, no person is free from this. They are all influenced by this, and they influence every aspect we looked at so far. So many of the aspects. Now here is kind of a concluding verse about the effect of trigunas. Now he's changing gaze a little bit. All these things so far were only attitudes, if you really do see that, how we approach something. Now, what we approach is not that important. How we approach, the mindset with which we approach, it is attitude, shraddha. That is what he's talking about. All this so far. Now it changes the grade a little bit here. Brahmana kshatriya visham shudranancha parantapa karmani pravibhaktani svabhava prabhavair gunaihi. Here, this svabhava, this guna is overall, not just the triguna here. So how it impacts the aptitude. So of the depending on the different varnas, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, their function, they are prescribed in accordance with their own basic nature, what they enjoy. So here it is talking about the aptitude, which is also arising from their own inherent nature. It's an inborn nature. So the pursuits of different varnas, Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras are prescribed, they are discussed here. That is also in accordance with their own basic nature. So each of us has certain inherent talents and interests, which makes us naturally suited for something, fulfill certain roles. This is even true for materials, not just human beings. Like gold is more malleable and ductile, so it's very easy to make just jewelry out of it. Whereas iron is hard, so good to make hammer. You don't want to make a hammer with gold. Same way, diamond is very hard. You can use it like that. Same charcoal, you can just burn it. So depending on each material has something inbuilt in it which is very suitable for what it can be used. Likewise, we also have inherent things. This classification of individuals into four groups is very broad. It's Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra is based on their basic aptitudes. This does not mean they totally lack other attributes. It just means what is predominant in them. Of course, everyone will have all the four, but what is more dominant, what they enjoy more, what is their bliss? That is what it is. In this case, note that the word guna is used in a general sense here. It's not just three guna, because, of course, attitude can impact this also, varna also, how they behave. You can have a uh, every week of News India Times, I see one person, a doctor cheating government for $360 million and another doctor doing lot of free work somewhere else. Likewise, a lawyer cheating, a business person cheating, another business person doing a lot of good things. So I see examples of both. Of course, this is only about the desis because it is News India Times, but this is true for every other race also. As you can see the same, these are all professionals. You can see some of them doing just a normal thing, some overperforming, some underperforming, or cheating and trying to show their, or being lazy. All those things comes in that. Okay. So one more time, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Visham,
ब्राह्मण क्षत्रिय विशाम
Shudrana, Chaparantapa,
शूद्राणां च परन्तप
Karmani, Pravibhaktani,
कर्माणि प्रविभक्तानि
स्वभाव प्रभवैर्गुणैः.
स्वभावप्रभवैर्गुणैः.
Yeah, this is the important line here. It is originating from their own swabhava. Swabhava prabhavairgunaihi. Swabhava gunajin, it is coming. So now about the Brahmins. Shamodamastapasyaucham kshantirarjavamevacha gnanam vijnanamastikhyam brahma karma swabhavajam. So Shama is a tranquility, a serenity, a calmness. Dama is restraint, control. Tapa is austerity, discipline. Shaucham is cleanliness or purity. Nanam is of course love for the knowledge, wisdom, or now you can say knowledge or wisdom. Then you have Kshanti is patience, forbearance, forgiveness, clemency, also in Kshanti. Arjavam is honesty, uprightness, openness, sincerity, integrity. Those are all meanings for Arjavam. Gnanam, of course, is wisdom. Vijnanam is knowledge. There's a know-how. There's a contextual wisdom. And Astityam is belief in supreme. They believe they are not nasti, they are asti. They believe in authority of the supreme. They are believers, they are not atheists. And faith in a higher power, astityam. Then these are the qualities of one born, one with a Brahmana. These characteristics uh, represent the Brahman, one who is like a Brahmin. So serenity, self-discipline, austerity, honesty, purity, forgiveness, knowledge, wisdom, and faith in the Almighty are the basic traits of Brahmanas. Any individual with natural aptitude for learning, analyzing, researching, teaching, and probing into nature's mystery is a Brahmana. Shamo Damastapa Shaucham.
क्षमोदपस्तपश्चौचम्
Shamo Damastapa Shaucham.
क्षमोदमस्तपश्चौचम्
Kshantirarjavameva cha.
क्षान्तिरार्जवमेव च
Jnanam Vijnanam Astikyam.
ज्ञानं विज्ञानमास्तिक्यं
Brahma Karma Swabhavajam.
ब्रह्मकर्मस्वभावजम्.
That is their swabhava, born of own nature, swabhavajam. Then now this is for the Kshatriya. Shauryam tejo dhritirdakshyam yuddhe cha apyapalayanam danam ishvara bhavascha kshatrakarma swabhavajam So Shauryam is valor or heroism, bravery, courage. That's all Shauryam. Tejo is splendor, majesty, and radiance. Dhriti is determination, firmness, steadfastness, guts. Those are all will. Those are all Dhriti. Then Dakshyam is dexterity, skill. Yuddhe in the battle, chapya palay, cha api apalayanam, cha yuddhe cha api palay, api apalayanam. It's a long word. Yuddhe cha api apalayanam. It means not running away from battle. Arjuna wanted to run away from battle, not running away from battle, not palayanam, apalayanam. Then danam, generosity, charity, philanthropy. Then Ishvara Bhavaha, that is a lordly spirit or lordly behavior. These are all the characteristic of the one with a Kshatriya kind of disposition. So valor, majesty, firmness, skill, courage, generosity, and lordly disposition are the basic traits of Kshatriyas. Anyone with natural aptitude for warfare, governance, politics, administration, management, or any kind of athletic activity, these are all characteristics of is a Kshatriya, anyone who feels like that. Shauryam Tejo Dhritirdakshyam
Shauryam tejo dhritirdakshyam
Yuddhe Chapyapalayanam
yuddhe chapyapalayanam
Dhanameshwara Bhavascha
danameshwara bhavascha
Kshatra Karma Swabhavajam.
kshatrakarma swabhavajam.
Then this is for Vaishya and the Shudra. Krishi Go Raksha Vanijyam Vaishya Karma Swabhavajam Paricharyatmakam Karma Shudrasyapi Swabhavajam. So here Krishi is of course agriculture, farming, cultivation. Then Gaur, the cow or animal husbandry, you can say cow raksha, cow herding protection, animal husbandry. Vanijyam is trade and commerce, are the characteristics of one form of the Vaishya. It actually makes sense. A Vaishya, the one who trades, should be the one who is growing, and he should be the one controlling it, not someone else grows and some middleman. So that way, he is the one involved in agriculture and farming, and of course, we have those products, you have to sell that. So you're also in Vanijya. Then Paricharyatmakam Karma. Paricharyatmakam is basically service function. So everything is service, but his service of a more, you can call it a lower level service, mean manual labor kind of service. Everything, even the other people are doing service only, but this is some kind of a service which almost anybody can do, that kind of service. So this is serving others is the basic trait of Shudra. So like basically if someone invented lawn mower, the one who moves the lawn, not the one who invented, one who moves the lawn is a service function. So that is kind of a Shudra category. So if you notice that in any function, the highest number will be Shudra category. One Marie Curie invented the radioactivity, then few scientists will go and build a radioactive reactor, and few people manage it. But who was lot of work in that whole radioactive plant, they will all be a service function. It's like a pyramid. There are more number of people in the service function. If any place, if you go no service, there is no establishment. If you go to a national park or any park, if they say no service, everyone leaves before sunset. Only when there is service, people go there and establish camp and all those things they do. For settlement, service is absolutely important. And the highest number of jobs in America is service jobs, service function. It's almost a service society. Krishigo Rakshavaണിജ്യം
Krishigo rakshya vanijyam
Vaishyakarma
vaishyakarma swabhavajam
Paricharyatmakam Karma
परिचर्यात्मकं कर्म
शूद्रस्यापि स्वभावजम्
शूद्रस्यापि स्वभावजम्.
So it is paricharya atmakam. Paricharya atmakam, parcharyatmakam. It becomes. So farming, raising cattle, and trade are the natural activities of Vaishyas as per their nature. Serving others is the basic trait of Shudras. So this is completes what are the functions for the aptitude of these four varnas. So any individual with a natural aptitude for managing money, trading, farming, and skilled labor is a Vaishya. Anyone with natural aptitude for service and physical work is Shudra. That is what it is. So basically, we are defined by our inherent talents and interests. Later on, nurturing and environment. Of course, if you are born to a family which is doing some kind of activity, you are born to that family, you naturally get that. We had our temple priest here, Srinivas Bhattar, and his son was 3 year old. He would come to temple at 4 year old. He was doing Srinivas Kalyanam at their home. I'm doing like he was just watching his father doing, all closely going around with him like that. Just by observation, just by nurture, by exposure that happens. Yeah, so that is like that. So we are basically combination of our genes and our nurture. So that's what influences what they are. Okay. Krishigo Raksha Vanijyam
कृषिगोरक्ष्यवाणिज्यं
Vaishyakarma Svabhavajam
वैश्यकर्मस्वभावजं
Paricharyatmakam Karma
परिचर्यात्मकं कर्म
Shudrasyapi Svabhavajam.
शूद्रस्यापि स्वभावजम्.
Okay, now I am going to deviate a little bit from the Gita because this is a area which comes up a lot. So I am going to spend some time discussing how this got mixed up and how it was misapplied. So these are basically a summary of what we thought. These are the human, I call it as a flavors, very nicely recognized in the Hindu system. Your flavors include aptitude. In the aptitude comes the Varna. You have the Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. And that also got stretched out and misapplied. And we also get Avarniyas, who are excluded or expelled, or never included to begin with. That is the punch of aptitude. Then you have the attitude. We discussed a lot about it. Triguna, Sattva, Raja, and Tamas. And there is a greater drift in that is the tendency to drift is to divine and demonic. They can go to extremes. And then, of course, the life stages. We call it ashrama, the brahmacharya, grihastha. Brahmacharya is student 1 to 25. Grihastha is householder 25 to 50. Vanaprastha is retreat, slowing down 50 to 75. So I am in Vanaprastha now. Then renunciate is 75 to 100. These are life stages. These are actually for every human being, really, if you look at it, aptitudes, attitude, and life stages. It is just that kind of very nicely defined in our system. So if you look at where these words, these varnas come, we had this book on Srishti, Hari, and myself co-authored this. We looked at 30 different songs of creation. These are all songs of creation found only in the Vedas and Upanishads. Of course, Upanishad is part of the Vedas. We did not go into Purana and other kind of things. We wanted to see what is the very original songs on creation. There are about 30 of them. A lot of them are repeating in the different Vedas, slightly different. But out of over 30 songs of creation in the Vedas, which is our foremost scriptures, only 2 mention Varna out of the 30. So 28, nothing about Varna. Then the 2 that mention Varna are the first one is, of course, the fourfold classification. For the first time we see it is Chaturvarnyam, we saw in the Purusha Suktam. This is in the Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Samaveda, Atharvana, all of them have that. This is where it says Brahmanosya Mukhamasid Bahu Rajanya Kritaha Uru Tadasya Yadvaishyaha Padbyagam Shudro Ajayeta. So Brahmana, uh, his face, the Purusha's face, the creator's face became the Brahmana. The Kshatriya was made from his arm, Vaishya from his thighs, and the Shudra was born from his feet. This is the first time. It doesn't describe anything about any characteristic of them. This comes in the 10th mandala of concluding mandala of Rigveda. It just introduces these terms. You hear the word Shudra and Vaishya for the first time in that, and no description, nothing made here. So it just says which part of the Purusha became what. So here, the same hymn, very next verse says, Nabhya asid antariksham sheshno dhyau samavartata padbyagam bhumiddhishashrotra ati tatha lokagam akalpayan. So it says, space emerged from his navel, the skies arose from his head, earth was fashioned from his feet, and the direction came from his ears. Thus all the realms were established. So that is the basically, if you look at Padvyagam Shudro Ajayata, I said in the previous one, Shudra was born from his feet. Here the earth was born from his feet. So base in a kind of a son of the soil kind of thing. If you look at if something born from feet is anything bad, it's all coming from Purusha, but the whole earth came from Purusha's feet. And look at what earth is happening today. Where my ancestor home sits, 1 square feet costs 35,000 rupees. Indian Indian rupees is 35,000 rupees or 1 square feet. That is why this talks about this here. There was only said where the Purusha limbs they come from, right? That is one. Now the next time there is one other hymn where the Varna, there is nothing else about the Varnas mentioned here, just where they came from, what, that's all. It doesn't say what their function, what their trait, nothing like that. Now the other creation hymn it comes is in the, it's a part of it, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad hymn, it's called the Self or the Atman. Only verse related to the Varnas are given here. Here, Brahman felt lonely. He was getting bored. So he said, he said with his power, he wanted some power. He created Kshatriya. Kshatriya is Kshatriya. And the Kshatriya gods are Indra, Varuna, Soma, Rudra, Yama, Ishana, etc. These are all gods with Kshatriya. And of course, from them came the Kshatriyas afterwards. They are the source, but the source of their power is Brahman. From the Brahman came the Brahmana, and among the gods, it is Agni came from Brahman. So basically, Brahmins were among humans, and whereas the Kshatriyas among the humans were coming from Indra, Varuna, Soma, Rudra, like that. And then he was still not happy. He created Vaishyas. First he created the Vaishya gods. These are Vasus, Rudras, Adityas, Vishvedevas, Maruts, etc. And then among humans, they are called Vaishyas. Still not happy, he created Shudra. Shudra is Pushan, is the god. And then earth itself is called Pushan. That's how the Shudra. This is how it talks about the 4 Varnas in the other creation hymn. Basically, these are the only references in the entire creation hymns. And of course, from that we have this Hinduism classified people broadly into 4 categories, Chaturvarna. The classification based on inherent qualities that makes one readily suitable for certain functions in the society, just like rust-free, malleable, and ductile nature of gold makes it valuable for jewelry, whereas hardness of iron makes it suitable to be used as a hammer. So these are the 4 Varnas. Then what happened? Let's see. Basically, we are not clones or carbon copies of our parents. This is best described in the Hinduism. We saw in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, verse 13, Chaturvarnyam maya srishtam gunakarma vibhagasha. He said, I have brought forth the 4 basic traits a classification based on guna and karma. Basic trait refers to inherent aptitude of a person. The four basic traits of human are explained what we saw in the just the four verses we saw just a few minutes back. So guna here should not be translated triguna, but it all the qualities of the person. Hari says Pusan refers to sun, not earth. Okay. Anyway, so now we talked about pursuit of Brahmin, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Shudras. We just talked about it. Each of us has certain inherent talents and interests, which makes us naturally suited to fulfill certain roles. That is how this classification came. And of course, we talked about the four classifications of Brahmin, we talked, and the Kshatriya, we already discussed that. Okay. This is about Hinduism. So what about other religions? Do they say that all are created only one way, only one qualities? That's not true. Here differences as per Judaism. Judaism divides humanity into chosen and Gentiles. Chosen are the Jews and Gentiles are anyone other than Jews. What is the basis they give? It is God's will with no other reason given beyond that. Just God decided you should be chosen, others should be Gentiles. Only the lineage of Abraham, that too through his wife Sarah, is blessed by God as chosen people. Right? Abraham and Sarah, their son Isaac. All the lineage of them are chosen people, whereas other son, earlier son, they had Ishmael, is not chosen people. They are the ancestor for Arabs. Of course, other Muslims also know that maternal connection is important to be born a Jew because Sarah's son, Isaac, was the one who became the first Jew. However, Reform Judaism allows anyone to convert to Judaism. Today, anyone can become a Jew. As we recently know that Trump's son-in-law was Jew, his daughter converted to Judaism. Now it is allowed for remote Jew. That is about Judaism differences. Now let us see. Differences as per New Testament, this in the Bible. So when Jesus spoke to hypocritical Pharisees and condemned their practices of divorce and adultery, he was condemning Jews. Jesus' disciples told him that it's good to abstain from marriage altogether. Let us all become just like you, they told to Jesus. Jesus said, no, all men cannot receive this, save they to whom it is given. For there are some eunuchs which are so born from their mother's womb, and there are some eunuchs which were made, like slaves used to be converted to eunuchs to watch harem and things like that. And they will be eunuchs, but we have made themselves eunuchs for the kingdom of heaven's sake. He that is able to receive it, let him receive it. So not all of them cannot imitate Jesus. They all cannot become celibate. He's asking them not to become celibate because it's simply not possible. So now this is about differences as per the Quran. Quran says, do not covet the favors which Allah has bestowed on some of you to excel others. Men shall have the share of the fruit of their labor, and for women is the share of the fruit of their labor. You had better seek from Allah his bounty. Verily, Allah has perfect knowledge of all things. Say, O my people, go on working according to the utmost of your capacities and positions. Surely I am doing my best. Soon you shall come to know for whom is the best reward of this abode. Anyone, the wrongdoer, never attained the goal. And he it is who has made you successor of others and rulers of the land, and he has exalted some of you over the others in degrees of rank, so that he may try you by that which he has given you. So surely your Lord is quick at retribution, and he is all the same, great protector, ever merciful. So basically, he's telling that some of you will be is made to excel much better than you. Don't complain. I keep on doing, so you keep on doing what you do. This kind of I am always working, like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Same way here, Allah says, I'm always busy working. You should be busy with whatever I have given you. So this is what about different religions. And now life thrives, this is biology, life thrives on variety. Mother Nature has not read US Constitution. She likes variety and ensures that individuals are not carbon copies. They have unique interest, inherent traits. A prudent society will provide opportunity for everyone to develop to their full potential, whatever that may be, without any sort of social engineering. That is where we talk about. So, whereas Varna is universal reality. Misapplied Varna, um, all the castigation, this is a Hindu anomaly or Hindu blunder. But most conclusive elaboration of Varna is in the Bhagavad Gita. As I mentioned, nowhere else these Varna names are mentioned, but there is really nothing given in a detail like a universal way. Like the way we read the four characteristics in Bhagavad Gita, they're very universal, very generic. There is nothing telling that you have to know this, any particular thing. They're in very general terms. In some places it's Janmana, Jayate, Shudraha, Karmana, all those things. But they're nothing like uh, very clear description like it is given in the Bhagavad Gita. To my knowledge, this is the first book which gave that. Now let us see. Varna misunderstood in spite of Bhagavad Gita. So what happened by misunderstanding? We also endorsed the fifth Varna, Avarniya. How can there be, if it was never came anywhere, where did the Avarniya came? The Panchamas or the outcasts or Asprishya. Basically, we killed the spirits of millions as untouchables, in a way disproved Bhagavad Gita itself, which says soul cannot be killed. We basically deprived them, demoralized them. We also misunderstood Swadharma as solely one's religious sect rules. Swadharma should be whatever your Varna, whatever aptitude, whatever gives you place. It's not that Swadharma is not, if your father was putting Nama, you should only put Nama, only follow that. That's the family custom. That is nothing to do with Swadharma. That is following your customs. Okay. That is not Swadharma really. Okay. So that is, now what happened is, the Hindu society for ages got casted in caste by misappropriation of the Varna concept. Now caste is cast to correct it, casted in, now the society is casted in caste to correct that blunder using caste tag based quota. We wrongly believe that one blunder will set right the other blunder. Even bigger blunder is to blame caste system on outsiders. Of course, colonials exploited it, but they did not create this on the pretext that caste is a foreign word, conveniently ignoring that it is alien word to describe how the Hindu society they looked at it. It is not that they created it. They might have exploited it, but they didn't create it. Like we cannot say that when the Europeans went to Africa, they called them they're black, but there is no black word in the African language. So you cannot say that they became black because of Europeans called them black, but they were always they were dark skinned anyway. So that is let us see. And look at this. These are the Muslim castes in India. I didn't put the Christians will be even more because there are so many tribes in Northeast converted to Christianity. They will have another dimension. So this is all these things. So it has become like an Indian thing. Caste is Indian thing. Casted in caste is Indian thing. Once there is nothing like in Bangladesh and Pakistan, it's nothing. Once you come to India, all these caste will come. One caste-based census, caste-based quota, all those things, right? It looks like it has become an Indian thing. Okay, now this is the blunders of caste-based reservation. It preserves and perpetuates caste, makes caste identity be recorded for the purpose of administration. Different castes fight to inclusion into OBC, other backward caste category, becomes part of vote bank politics, promising a certain caste will be made OBC. Like Patels wanted OBC in Gujarat, right? For example, Lingayats and Veerashaivas were made OBC by Yediyurappa. My Lingayat professor, all my biochemistry knowledge came from my Lingayat professors in 1970s. By 2000, they became OBCs. Okay, right? Uh, who is of that caste himself, Yediyurappa. All my fantastic MSc biochemistry professors, I owe my career to them. 3 decades later, became OBC. Therefore, there is such a big rush to get OBC status, right? Um, because of importance attached to caste, it will be hypocrisy to dream for secular and casteless society. That's every time we talk about caste. Because SC/ST with the Dalit category, unlike OBC, does not have restriction of status. One who has advanced can still avail reservation. There is no elimination of creamy layer. There is elimination of creamy layer in OBCs, but not in SC and ST for future generations. Like Karge's the Congress president, his son can be avail caste, his grandson can do all those things, and they can outcompete. They can outcompete their own people. Dalit can outcompete another Dalit. Their advanced Dalit can outcompete yet to be advanced Dalit. And SC/ST and OBC who are converted to other religions, we still need support. But once they convert to Christianity or Islam, they are excluded from this system. So how this can be made better? Of course, there has to be support, but this is my theory. Need-based reservation overcomes the blunders of caste-based reservation. So it can easily be made like um, social and economically backwardness, 30% quota. Social backwardness, 20% quota. Economic backwardness, 20% quota. They're economically backward people in all varnas, all castes. The 70% net quota is close to what we already have for the ST, SC, OBC. By doing like this, there is no exploitation of creamy layer, and you don't have to have caste tag. You only have a need tag, and it doesn't discriminate between your religion or anything. Anyone is in that category, socially and economically backward, will get that privilege. So you don't need to keep on remembering your caste or keeping the tag. Once you lose the tag, you lose the privilege. So no such thing. So if even 99, this is my exploit, even 99.99% reservation based on need is superior to even 0.001% reservation based on caste or communal tag, because that perpetuates. So if we implemented this, we will be able to make reference to caste or religion in the media illegal, just like you cannot use the word Negro in American media today. Whereas in India, every time, more and more, I know more about caste in 2024 than I knew in 1973 and 1953 when I was born, right? So now more and more we come to know because of the importance of that. So that can be basically, it eliminates the need to figure out the caste of children born to a mixed. So what will be the caste children born to a mixed caste, right? All those things. So somehow, unfortunately, we have gotten into a big mess. Anyway, this is just a distribution. SC plus ST, they form about 25 to 25% of the population. OBC is about 27%. So it looks like majority, more than 50% are in this kind of category. So, okay, so that is, excuse me for the deviation. I wanted to discuss that how this is really quite a bit of, it's not an academic thing, it's a real ground thing, right? It's we're all facing. Okay, now we come to the new verse, Gita. Sve sve karmanyabhirataha samsiddhim labate naraha pakarma niratas siddhim yatha vindati tatsruno. So here he talked about whatever your aptitude, you should do that. Then there is a, by doing that, there is a value, because one attains, when you do something which are very comfortable and convenient, you can be very successful. That one attains perfection when he is committed to his work, right? I will tell you how it helps. It says, so sve sve karmanyabhirataha
स्वे स्वे कर्मण्यभिरतः
samsiddhim labate naraha
संसिद्धिं लभते नरः
karma niratas siddhim
स्वकर्म निरतं सिद्धिं
Yatha vindati tatshrunu.
यथा विन्दति तच्छृणुम्.
I think I will stop here. 10 more minutes is there. Hari is there. We can continue. He will tell how this will benefit by following what you are good at. We can continue that one Sunday. So I will open this up for Hari to make some comment and any general discussion for some 10 minutes.
Yeah, so I think one very important addition to this discussion on Varna is that if we look at the history of the world, if we look at different societies across time, everywhere there is discrimination. Everywhere there is groupism. Any organization, any family setup, any large group of people coming together, in group of people for that matter, we will have some discrimination, we will have some groupism, we will have some affiliations and prejudices and so on. The reason for, I think, our traditional thinkers and savants to come up with the framework is to mitigate the ill effects of discrimination, because you cannot avoid discrimination. It always happens in any society, any group of people. This sort of social structure helps organize it. And so one of the things that people often they are criticizing Hinduism for having varna and so on. If you look at the other societies, I think, of course, we are also seen in some of the other important religions. But if we look at socially, more than religious thing, if you look at the society of Europe in the Middle Ages, or if you look at the society of United States in the 19th century and so on, we'll find that there was discrimination. So it is not something unique to India. It's only that because this was seen for so many years, in our tradition, which is almost 5, 6,000, 7,000 years unbroken tradition, they gave this kind of formal structure to it. So therefore, people from the other part of the world, they are surprised when they see this. The effect of another point is about the effect of colonization and also the Islamic invasions and so on caste. Although I think it's very correct that we already have this concept of varna, whether you call it caste or varna or social group, whatever term we use, the idea is there. So therefore, the notion that somebody brought it from outside is incorrect. However, when the society is facing any kind of attack from outside, or any kind of situation, there's a catastrophe or something, naturally societies become more rigid. We saw during COVID, for example, it is not an attack from any country or like a war or something, but a pandemic, and naturally the rules are very, very strict. In a normal day, if I told you that the government has told all the people to stay at home and not step outside, we will call that as draconian. We will call that something which is really tyrannical. But under those circumstances, everybody accepted it, and it was seen as it is fine because it's for the welfare and safety of everybody. So similarly, I think when we had the first early waves of the Islamic invaders in the 10th and 11th century, the society became more rigid. The mobility across Varna reduced. And by the time of the British, I think also it became even worse. So we have to understand the idea of Varna, and the best definition has been given in Gita, Guna Karma Vibhagasha. When we look at this one line, defining Varna as Guna and Karma, innate ability and the activities we undertake, everything in our tradition becomes very clear with regard to the concept of Varna. So when we apply this one sutra, and this is exactly also the vision of Chanakya, which we see in the Arthashastra. So I think all the great thinkers of our tradition have defined it in this particular manner. And further, when we look at this 45th shloka, it becomes very clear. When people are aligned to themselves, then they are having a greater opportunity to excel and to contribute to society.
Something they naturally able to do without taking much effort. Yeah.
Your volume is a little low, I think.
You're not hearing me?
We can hear, but I don't know. Somehow I find little low after the slide number
they
28,
were
29
Can you hear me now?
became a little low.
Mic ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಕೆಳಕ್ಕೆ ಇಟ್ಬಿಡು.
yeah.
Move the mic down.
You have to move
This
the
one.
mic down.
This one.
Your mic is
Picked up, maybe, yeah.
Ah.
The attachments. Gita is supposed to make us less attached,
yeah.
but during Gita sessions, I am more attached. Is it better now?
Yes, perfect.
Yeah.
It's okay?
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
You know, like this monk goes to his guru and says, "Is it okay to use email?" He says, "Yes, as long as there is no attachment."
Well, my point is how we Varna is there. There was no Panchama Varna anywhere, right? How did we invent that? That is, there's only Chatur Varna. See, I think that's the place I think we might have. Of course, in Manusmriti it says anyone can very easily be get banished from their varna, right, by violating any of your rules. So that may be the reason you have such a high percentage in the avarna
I
category.
also think that idea of varna or any of these things, the dharma shastras and our literature which deals with society, with law, governance, and all these things, largely it is defined in this geographical boundary. So what we call Aryavarta, or the region between Himalaya and the sea, and on the, like the Hindu Kush mountain, and this side the Brahmaputra, roughly that what is the Indian subcontinent. So whatever operates in this particular geographical region is seen as our nation. So anybody who comes from outside, or anybody who falls outside the social structure, the people who come from outside this geographical region, or people who are kind of exiled from this setup, probably they became like outside the framework of the four varnas, like the Panchama, something like that. This is just my
because
estimation.
we had the Bahishkara, right? Getting
Yeah.
outcasted. It was a system like you. And when there's a lot of them converted to other religions, but there was no other religions available, then you just became outcasted.
Because in the traditional Hindu conception, all the four varnas are very important. So just because somebody is a Shudra or a Vaishya or Kshatriya, everybody have a very, very important role to play in society.
Of course, essential.
But
They're complementing.
they are complementary, and they were mutually respected for their worth. But when somebody violates the basic idea of the society of the Arya, the traditional values, then they cannot be put in any of the varnas, because all the four varnas are important. So maybe that's one of the reasons that there was some outside this framework there.
And some were not integrated, like tribal living in just like Native Americans, like away from living not with the mainstream. But what wondered me is Buddha wrote his only one book ascribed to Buddha is Dhammapada. In that, he says he totally did not understand the Varna concept. He said Buddha is Brahmana. He said.
Yeah.
So who is Vaishya? Who is Kshatriya? Who is Shudra? He didn't say. Buddha is Brahmana. That is his last chapter is who is Brahmin. He writes all the characteristics of Stita Prajna and says Buddha is Brahmana, like that. That one.
So I think they did not have that kind of conception, because they visualized a society of ascetics. It's a monastic religion. So I don't think they needed that idea. Probably they must have felt that. Anyway, it's just
I don't know why he made that comment. That means basically he didn't understood it was an aptitude, right? Then another thing is funny thing is Swami Vivekananda gave an interview to a Hindu news reporter traveling in train somewhere in Tamil Nadu in 1890s, and he said all Hindus should become Brahmins. I don't know why he said that, because it's like telling everyone should become Wimbledon champion, a tennis player.
Yeah.
idea is everyone should be able to play tennis. Yes, there should not be discrimination. Everyone should have a chance to
But yeah,
play tennis. That everyone cannot become a tennis player. They may not
no, and
even like
also
it.
the qualities, especially now, whatever you discussed today,
Yeah.
the four varnas, all these qualities are noble qualities and seen in society.
Uh-huh.
Question is who has these qualities in greater proportion? Because
Exactly.
today, for example, many people from all the four varnas are software engineers.
Mhm.
So they are all doing similar kind of activity,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
it has certain kind of element of money and trade and so on. So therefore, it is a totally different varna. I mean, in the philosophical sense, but in the social sense, they all go back home and then they are from their whatever traditional varna. So
Yeah.
I think there is a societal aspect to it and a philosophical aspect to it, and not everybody seem to have been very clear on this.
Exactly. And I've also seen when there is opportunity, wide opportunity, a lot of my colleagues who came as PhD to do research, they ended up doing something else. They became business people because there they saw the bigger opportunity or something else. They were more interested in whatever knowledge they had to form small company and run business, uh, or basically change the line itself, become something else, like that. you know. Anyway, so I think in a way, there was a lot of misunderstanding of this varna in the
Yeah,
society. Yeah,
that's true.
yeah. Anyway, so any other question or any comment?
So 8 o'clock, maybe we can resume it tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay. So Sunday, right? Sunday. Today
Sunday.
is
Yeah,
Thursday.
Sunday.
Yeah.